Please come to order. Good morning and welcome to the Commissioners of St. Mary's County meeting this date, Tuesday, September 14th, 2021. I'm Eric Colvin, representative for the 1st Commissioner District, which includes Ridge, Piney Point, and St. George's Island. And today I will be chairing the meeting in place of Commissioner President Guy. Commissioner President Guy is joining us today via Zoom. Commissioner Guy, can you hear me?
Good morning, everybody. Good evening.
And Commissioner John O'Connor, who represents the 3rd Commissioner District, which includes Charlotte Hall, 7th District, Golden Beach, and Mechanicsville, is also joining us via Zoom. John, can you hear me?
Good afternoon.
I'd like to introduce the other commissioners. Sitting to my right, representing the 2nd Commissioner District, which includes Leonardtown and Hollywood, Commissioner Mike Hewitt.
Good afternoon.
Sitting to my left, representing the 4th Commissioner District, which includes Lexington Park, some of California, Great Mills, and some of Hollywood, Todd Morgan. Dr. Rebecca Bridget, our County Administrator, is sitting at the table to my left.
Good afternoon.
Elisa Cassis, our Communications Director, is sitting at the table to my right.
Good afternoon.
Amy Carter, our Video Media Producer, is behind the glass. Please turn your cell phone off or on vibrate, and when you come to the presenters table, please approach by coming down the center aisle, and remember this meeting is being televised, so you need to speak clearly and directly into the microphone for recording purposes. Before we get to our usual invocation and pledge, we have a somewhat unique time. Let me read this statement here. On September 11, 2001, the United States of America was attacked by terrorists and suffered the devastating loss of 2,977 people in New York City, Washington, D.C., and Shanksville, Pennsylvania. In the days, weeks, and months following the attacks, Americans united to provide help, to offer aid, and to serve in countless ways. Around the country, people paused to remember those who lost their lives on the anniversary of the 9/11 attacks, vowing to never forget. On behalf of the Commissioners of St. Mary's County, please join me in taking a moment of silence to reflect and remember. Thank you. You'll probably hear more about September 11th remembrances during our Commissioner times. But at this time, I will turn it over to Commissioner Hewitt for the invocation and pledge.
Okay, please stand for the prayer. Dear Lord, help us. Well, first off, thank you for this beautiful day. Thank you for this beautiful weather, this clean air we breathe, this fresh water we drink, this abundance of food that this land produces for us. Thank you for all those blessings. Help us find a way to get past this COVID-19 Delta variant or whatever else is just driving this world and this country crazy. Help people who maybe aren't vaccinated to find the wisdom to become vaccinated. Be part of the solution. God left us with, and this country is wonderful with having free choice, but help us find the right way, and with your guidance, hopefully we will come out of this thing and be stronger afterwards. All this in your name, amen.
Amen.
Join me for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
All right, at this time, I need a motion for the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you all. Now we have 2 proclamations. First is for Forget-Me-Not Month. I believe Commissioner Hewitt has those.
I'd like to ask the people who are accepting it, come up here with me, please. Some like it back there, I like it up here. We got to get back to normal. I'm fully vaccinated, even had the booster. Fully vaccinated. But I strongly encourage anybody who's not been vaccinated to get so. If you want to wear a mask, please do so. But this is America. Forget-Me-Not Month. This proclamation is being accepted by Linda Wellhoy, Commander of DAV Chapter 26, and a couple of her co-lieutenants. Or maybe co-commanders.
Past commanders.
He's a past commander.
Past commander, past commander.
Good
He's
guy.
my chief of staff.
Good guys. Whereas everyone in St. Mary's County has a continuing sense of gratitude to disabled veterans who have done so much to keep our way of life intact. And whereas the Disabled American Veterans Organization works for the welfare of our disabled veterans and their families by offering a free service of filing claims for government benefits and assisting with job, hospital, employment, and other issues. And whereas Chapter 26 of the Disabled American Veterans has been established to help the disabled veterans of St. Mary's County. And whereas the Disabled American Veterans Organization has chosen the month of September for its annual Forget Me Not campaign in our community, and has announced that all funds contributed will be utilized for disabled veterans in St. Mary's County. Now therefore, we, the Commissioners of St. Mary's County, do hereby proclaim the month of September 2021 as Disabled American Veterans Forget Me Not Month, and urge all citizens, interested groups, and organizations to support this worthy occasion.
Yes.
We'll shake at the end.
Okay. I just want to let you know that we help all veterans, not just disabled. We provide homes for them. We provide food. We provide, as said in the proclamation, we do the claims for them.
Right.
And
Rent?
rent, yes. The claims that we do helps them to receive their benefits that they so deserve. I'm very proud to be the commander of Chapter 26, and I will continue to do all that I can to help every veteran in this country. Thank you very much.
Harry? Got a few words.
Yes.
I've been with the Disabled American Veterans for over 15 years. I've been doing claims for over 12 years. I did, right now, the last count was 5,300 plus claims for veterans. There's over 200 that have 100%. And I love veterans. I love disabled veterans. I love what I do. That's why I'm still doing it. I now have moved up to the state, and what I'm doing is trying to get more money into St. Mary's County, because that's what we do. We work with the people in St. Mary's County and the lower Calvert County, up to Huntington. And it's a very satisfying work. It is, like I said, Linda is now the commander. Ray is now gang, the past commander. I'm the past commander. Chapter 26 does a lot of things, a lot of different things. And we're the best chapter in the county. And we are also the only chapter in the nation that has a PTSD group / suicide prevention group. And this has been going on for over 4 years, almost 5 years now. And Ray and myself are the only two originals left, and the last count we had 27 people in the room. So it is working. We haven't lost anybody, thank God. But 22 veterans a day kill themselves. And believe me, that is a statistic that we have to change. Thanks.
Commander, let me let you have a few words.
I'm sure you wondered that. What we do is, folks, if you have any family, aunts, uncles, cousins, grandmas, grandpas, anybody that needs a claim, and anybody that was injured or an injury was aggravated while on active duty services, we introduce you, the veteran, and the families to what benefits that you can get off the veteran. Right now, we're having veterans that are dying, and their death certificates don't read the right verbiage, so that the families can get their benefits. That's what we're out there for. It's a free service. We're out there for everybody. If you got a question, come see us. We're willing to help anybody and everybody. Like we said, while I was commander, I did ramps. Somebody handed me a box of here. I got 2 homeless veterans. put them in a home. We successfully did that, chapter 26 did that.
Oh, great. Well, listen, that's all good stuff.
Okay.
There you go.
Fantastic. What a great group. Thank you. Thank you.
All righty.
Thank you very much.
Mike,
Take care. Good to see you, buddy.
Thank you, Mr. Hugo.
Thank you for support, Mike.
You too, buddy.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right, and next we have Hispanic Heritage Month. Commissioner Morgan, do you have that one?
Got this one?
Uh-huh.
I'll stand here and read real for you ladies.
Good afternoon.
How are
Good
you?
afternoon.
Well,
Hispanic Heritage Month. Whereas Hispanic Heritage Month is an opportunity to share both past and present cultural contributions of Hispanic Americans. This year's theme celebrates Esperanza, a celebration of Hispanic heritage and hope. And whereas Hispanic Heritage Observation began in the United States in 1968 as Hispanic Heritage Week under President Lyndon Johnson. It was expanded to a full month by President Ronald Reagan in 1988, beginning September 15th and ending on October 15th, known today as Hispanic Heritage Month. And whereas the United States of America was built and thrives on its ingenuity, integrity, and diverse contributions of its people, the Hispanic American community continues to positively influence our country by integrating the foundational qualities of faith, hard work, service, patriotism, and a strong commitment to family. Hispanics have helped to shape our communities and have enhanced our quality of life. Increasingly, Hispanics are holding a variety of key roles in the community as business owners, engineers, doctors, lawyers, laborers, teachers, public service, and brave service members who help to defend our country and the way of life with integrity, pride, and honor. Now, therefore, we, the Commissioners of St. Mary's County, do hereby proclaim September 15th through October 15th, 2021, Hispanic Heritage Month, and urge all citizens to recognize the contributions they have made and continue to make in American history in every aspect of American life. Thank you very much.
Commissioners, thank you for this proclamation that speaks to the value of diversity and recognizes the contributions of our Hispanic community in St. Mary's County. I'm very pleased to be joined today by members of the Patuxent River Hispanic Engagement Action Team, also known as HEAT. Right beside me is Maria Mayte Cheney, and beside her is Kimberly Leva. Thank you. And so if we could just have a moment to talk a little bit about the HEAT
Would be honored.
initiatives.
Thank you.
That'd be great.
Well, thank you. HEAT is an organization that's based out of Patuxent River. We're federal employees, and we come together as a community because most of our members are from out of town, and this is a space for them to commune with like-minded, diverse people. We're also part of a larger diversity and inclusion organization within PACS where we work with other demographics to find common ground to work together. And that's why we're here to represent the Hispanic community, because we want to show that we are diverse and we have common ground for whatever group that we're part of.
Great. Ma'am?
I have nothing.
Thank you. Well, thank you for being here.
And Cynthia, would you hand her the proclamation, please, for the picture?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and now we have a commendation for the American Legion Post 255 baseball team. And if, let's see, if we have some of the coaches, maybe they could come forward. I believe it's Steve Zampano, Tim Cameron, Tyler Kimmy. So thank you all for being here. I'm especially proud to present this since this is in my district. But this commendation reads, Commissioners of St. Mary's County officially commends American Legion Post 255 Baseball 2021 Mid-Atlantic Regional Champions for your outstanding 2021 season with most wins in team history at 27-3, including 18 in a row, first state title, first regional title, and first World Series appearance. Your season was truly exemplary. Your hard work and perseverance is a true inspiration to all in our county, especially the next generation of baseball players. This date, September 14th, 2021. We were all following your season, especially as you went a little further and further. It was very exciting. So
I will sit there and say, in that World Series, however they did that bracketology at the end and kept you guys out, I'll never figure that out, and I tried to figure it out, and I don't get it.
Well, we could have used you in your chart. Absolutely.
yeah.
You know, you guys had a tremendous season. We're really proud of everything you guys accomplished.
No, thank you, guys. Appreciate the accommodation and the recognition. I mean, it was a great run. Like you said, a historic run for our guys.
It'll be better next year.
Yeah, hopefully, if we can reload and do the same thing. But you know, it all starts with great coaches. Coach Kimmy, Coach Cameron, Pat Odell, Jason Bean, Ryan Kaslavich, and Andrew Fenwick. I mean, it all starts with those folks, and then obviously our Post is such a great sponsor for us. I mean, Post 255 sponsors more Team 7 teams in St. Mary's County than any other Post in the country.
Oh,
we
wow.
found that out when we were down in at the World Series. So, great parents, great kids. I mean, the parents that made sacrifices. When we started this back in March timeframe, putting this team together, there was no way we could say to the parents, "Hey, we need you to take 3 weeks off at the end of July and into August." But these are baseball families. They understand this unique opportunity, and it was a great run. And we're so proud of the support that we got back home, the phone calls, the text messages, and we could feel the support back home. So kids are proud of what they did. We're really super proud of what they did, and hopefully we can duplicate this and keep it going. Baseball's alive in Southern Maryland and is thriving. So thank you very much.
That's great.
Thank you all.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Cameron knows how to do this real well.
Great, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on, we have a presentation from Mr. John Richards, one of St. Mary's County's most outstanding citizens. If you'd like to come forward, sir. For one of the most exciting events of the year.
I hope so. Everybody else in front of me here is getting an award for what they did. We haven't done anything yet, so.
Mr. Richards, you can be seated, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I can be seated?
Yes, sir,
Yeah.
please. Thank you.
I wanted to show off my tie. Had a lot of special ties, so we can reach. I'm really not going to do a whole lot of presenting. 20 years ago, the county fair came right after the 9/11, and I hope we were part of
Please excuse me, sir.
getting things back to normal, as you could. So this year, after COVID last year when we had to cancel, we're ready to go. I think people are ready to go. We've had so many nice comments from people saying, oh, they're so glad that we're going to have a fair this year. It's been a little bit of a challenge because things are different, and we're working with the health department and everybody to try to see it's going to be as safe as possible. At this point, we've had a year and a half or more of wearing masks and reading signs and saying, I think everybody knows what they need to do. I'm going on Friday to get my booster. So the folks at the health department and emergency management have really done a good job as far as the vaccinations go. And I really look forward to going over to Hollywood Fire Department and getting my shot. So I certainly encourage everybody to do that too. our catalog, which gives all the information about what you can enter. It's available in the library. It's also online, but please go out and get your tomatoes and your peppers and whatever else you've grown.
Pumpkins.
Pumpkins, yeah. Don't go down to the store and buy one, please.
Okay.
Want to make sure.
I know where to find a big one.
But there are so many people that worked to put this on. We survived last year with not having a fair because we don't have any salaries to pay. So we've survived quite well, and going into the future, I think we're in good shape. So, unfortunately, I decided to come a week early, so don't get confused. It's not this weekend, it's following weekend. But as a result, I don't have any T-shirts to give you. I was going to bring a stuffed ham sandwich or something, but Elisa said she didn't think that was necessary. So anyway, we hope to see you at the fair. If you get there and you locate me, I'd be happy to give you a tour. It'll keep me from having to do something. And we're always happy to show off what all these great volunteers have done. So thank you very much, and hope to see you at the fair.
Looking forward to it.
Hey, John, are there going to be any mask requirements that you and the health department are going to be putting forth so the public can at least know about it ahead of time? Are you trying to still decide? We've worked together for too long.
There are probably going to be places on the fairgrounds where you will, for instance, if you come into the office, you're probably going to have to wear a mask.
Okay.
But if you're sitting in the watching horse pull, probably not. I asked the health department if they had some sample signs that we could print out, and what we needed to do, and they sent me signs for masks required and masks suggested. So it covers.
So are the exhibit buildings going to require masks?
No.
Okay.
We have, this is not our first fair, so we are used to having swine flu and avian flu. And for instance, all of our livestock barns have fans, and that's why we were really in good shape when it came to swine flu.
Mm-hmm.
All of the exhibit buildings have exhaust fans, and we have fans, tons of fans, believe me, that we can keep the air moving. We're not expecting any problem from that. Tolerance Hall has a special ion something or other system installed in it. So we installed that in memory of Bill Pilkerton, who died last year from COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's already been in and functioning. And we're going to have a newly renovated hand washing station that's be the cat's meow, have a baby changing station.
Okay.
Everything right in, hot and cold running water.
And the new running water in the bathroom, too.
Say again, sorry. I've got this on my ears.
That's okay. And the fancy bathrooms we have now, too.
The bathrooms are, yes, air conditioned for the ladies.
That's right.
All ventilated with a special ventilation, which we had already installed before. So.
Okay. Well, it's good to know that, so the people know, that just wanted to give them a little heads up on the masking requirements might have been, but now that you have announced it, it's gospel.
Yes. If you go to Ace Hardware or Walgreens or something, you're never quite sure until you walk up at the door and see. So usually it seems like every place you go, it's optional.
Yeah. Okay.
So we don't We're not going anywhere above that. Whatever the health department, if between now and fair time, the health department says something different,
Okay.
we will follow. I feel like I know everybody at the health department, like they're part of my family. I talk to them every day, so.
Well, we're all looking forward to it, and we're looking for those T-shirts too.
You got it. I'll get
Thank
an
you, buddy.
extra large for you.
Double extra large, yes.
Okay.
Mr. Richards, tell me,
Yes.
this is your 74th annual. How many have you and your wife done? All 74? I'm only kidding, of course.
Well, as I think I became president in 1984, but I did work in other aspects at FAIR probably since 75 or so.
So you've been down there about 45?
Moved down to St. Mary's County in 1963. I didn't even know what a county fair was, so.
Yeah. Hey, that's the same year I got here, 63.
Okay, it was a good year.
So the message is, bring a mask. May have to wear it, may not. If you're outside, you shouldn't have to wear it.
That's right. That's
But
correct.
whatever you feel most comfortable with. Well, sir, I have to, sorry to say, I'll miss your parade. I actually have a family affair going on in Leonardtown at that same time that morning, but I'll be there before and I'll be there after I'm done with this family affair.
We'll be looking for you. And
I'll be,
I hope I can recognize you if you have your mask on. So.
well, you might not see me with a mask, sir. I've been vaccinated, I have my booster, and I believe this country is free choice, sir.
I'm with you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Very good. Moving into our main agenda, I believe the only thing on our main agenda is Department of Land Use and Growth Management. And Mr. Hunt, if you'd like to come explain what's going on to us.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Dr. Bridget. I'm appearing to request that the Commissioners schedule a public hearing to obtain public testimony and to consider adopting an amendment to the Comprehensive Water and Sewerage Plan for commercial development of property located at 37281 Carpenter Lane in Charlotte Hall. The property is within the Charlotte Hall Town Center. The requested amendment would change the water service category from W6D, service in 6 to 10 years, to developer financed, to W3D, service in 3 to 5 years, developer financed. The property owner is Property on Tap LLC.
Mr. Hunt, could you move towards the microphone, please, sir? Thank you.
The amendment will allow public water service for a future intended Forever Lawns business service and 4 residential apartments. The immediate use of the property will be to store equipment used by Forever Lawns. The land use is mixed use, moderate intensity, and the zoning is town center mixed use. Planning Commission held a public hearing on the CWSP amendment on July 12, 2021, and recommended approval. The Health Department and Metcom support the proposed connection to public water service. MDE found the proposed CWSP amendment to be consistent with the comprehensive plan. Staff's request is that a public hearing be scheduled for October 5th, and if that date is acceptable, a time of day for the public hearing is needed.
Mr. Hunt, I'm sorry, were you done, sir?
Yes, sir.
TAP LLC, is that Mark Cord, and who's the landlord? Who owns this property?
I don't know, sir.
That's always a challenge for this commissioner, to have nobody's name associated with something. It always makes you wonder, who it is. Anyway, but I do know about Forever Lawns LLC. It's a local group that does turf fields, or not fields, but turf lawns. And I dealt with them a while back on another piece they were looking at, and they did find this piece. And I guess my point to you is that I think it's a great idea. They talked about there's so many people who don't want to mow their grass anymore that they're just taking the grass out and putting turf in. Now, it sounds a little expensive, but you never have to mow it again. I'm sure it's green year-round, so it's a great idea. I'm totally in favor of it, and with other commissioners' support, I'll go ahead and make a motion. I move that the Department of Land Use and Growth Management be authorized to schedule a morning public hearing to amend the CWSP service area map III-4 to change the water service category from W6D, Developer Finance Service, in 6 to 10 years, to W3D, Developer Finance Service, in 3 to 5 years, for Property on Tap LLC. Tax map 4, grid 4, parcel 281, alt parcel A, proposed lot 2, 37281 Carpenter Lane in the Charlotte Hall Town Center.
Second.
All right, I have a first and a
Discussion.
second. Is there any discussion on the line?
Yes, I would prefer an evening hearing just because there's so much development that's going to be happening in the north end of the county. I've been receiving a lot of feedback and comments, questions, especially with the sale of the farmers market area. We have Royal Farms that is possibly going to be going up. So I do know that the citizens of District 3 would like to possibly have comment, and the morning time is not conducive for that due to work schedules. So if Commissioner Hewitt would accept a friendly amendment for an evening public hearing, I would. I think that'd be much better for the residents in the north town.
I'm sure you're with them. You're always there. You're good?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
So the motion is for an evening public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hunt. All right, we're moving into County Administrator time. Dr. Bridget.
Thank you, Commissioner Colvin. And Commissioners, for your draft agenda, next week on September 21st, you do have three proclamations: Constitution Week, Underground Railroad Month, and National Senior Center Month. You have a presentation from the Department of Land Use and Growth Management for Sustainability Awards. You also have the Office of the County Attorney with the legislative proposals. On September 28th, you have a proclamation for World Architect Day and a commendation for Paul Reed's retirement. The Office of the County Attorney has a public hearing to repeal the solar moratorium ordinance. St. Mary's County Board of Health has the regular 9:30 every other week meeting. Follow-up from the Office of the County Attorney on legislative proposals. And then you have a closed session for litigation and real property.
I must have missed something. I thought we were going to repeal the solar moratorium on that day. Did I miss that?
On September 28th is the schedule for the public hearing on the solar moratorium ordinance to repeal.
All right, I thought that was the day we were going to vote, but we're going to.
Okay.
We're not. Okay.
So for today's business meeting is item B, the Sheriff's Office with the GOCCP FY 2022 Edward J. Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Application. Lottie Bell, Fiscal Manager, Sheriff's Office, attending, and I think Melanie Trifone is the Community Health Nurse from the Sheriff's Office, and she is on Zoom. Good morning, Lottie, or good afternoon, Lottie. Let's have it.
Good afternoon, Commissioners and Dr. Bridget. In this FY22 BJAG grant, the Sheriff's Office is requesting $90,000 in federal funding to cover the purchase of the Lexipol Cortico Shield Law Enforcement Wellness app in support of the Sheriff's Office Wellness, Mental Health, and Crisis Intervention Initiative. This will cover 3 years, and there is no required match for this grant. The grant is included in our FY22 budget at a higher amount, so a budget amendment would be needed at the award stage. If you have any specific questions, Nurse Melanie is online, and Captain Yingling is in attendance in the audience. So.
Are there any questions on the line?
I move to approve the fiscal year 2022 Edward J. Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant Application, Project US 2222, to the Governor's Office of Crime Prevention, Youth and Victim Services, $90,000 for the purchase of the Lexipol/Cortico Shield Law Enforcement Wellness app in support of the Sheriff's Office Wellness/Mental Health and Crisis Intervention Initiative, and authorize the Commissioner, President, Sheriff, and staff to execute the related documents and submit electronically.
Second.
I have a first and second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All right. Any opposed? None? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners. And item C is from the Department of Emergency Services with the tower lease agreement with Next Edge Networks LLC. Steve Walker, Director for DES, I think is in the lobby and headed our way. Samantha Willis from Site Acquisition Coordinator, Next Edge Networks LLC. Either one present? Oh, here comes Steve. Good afternoon, Mr. Walker.
I apologize.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. So I'm here today regarding a tower lease application. So we were contacted by a company that is called Next Edge Networks. They would like to install a device on one of our tower sites. And when they put that up there, that will be assisting the Navy Department at Pax River. The cost of this that they will be paying us is roughly $250 a month, comes out to about $3,000 a year. The device itself is about 3.5 pounds, and we have done an assessment, structural analysis to make sure that that will not impact the structure of the tower, and then also that it will not, we contacted Harris to make sure it will not impact our operations, and we are okay on both accounts. And I'm asking for you to approve our lease and to allow them to use our site.
Who's this for? What does Next Edge do?
It is called Next Edge Networks LLC. It is a contractor for the Navy.
Tell me,
Communications.
I just had two quick questions for you. Now, first off, are there other co-locators already on there, or are they going to be the only one besides us?
On that one, I believe they're the only one. It is on here on the Leonardtown site. I don't think there's anybody else that is renting on that one. And again, it's a very small device. It is something we've done elsewhere. There's another one coming before you later in the month from Dish Network. So it's not uncommon that we do this, that we lease to other companies that do that.
Now, the Ridge radio tower, is that the one down there by St. Michael's School?
The Ridge is right there by the where they do the carnival in Ridge.
Wouldn't we want to give that revenue to the rescue squad or the fire department?
That's your choice.
Well, I mean, is it on their territory? Isn't it right there, the one that's right there where the carnival is, with the tower sits right there behind it?
It is. Again, this one is in Leonardtown. It's our site, but I mean, that's...
Wait, I think you're talking about a tower in Ridge, and he's talking about a tower in Leonardtown.
Correct.
Oh, maybe okay. I thought it said for purpose of leasing space on the Ridge radio tower site. But that's the Ridge radio site in Leonardtown?
No, if it says Ridge, again, I'm working two of these, so that's missed.
Maybe I missed. All right, well, I just thought it was in Ridge, sorry. If it's the one in Leonardtown, I get it.
I mean, that's your choice if that's what you decide to do.
No,
I mean,
I thought it was the one that was on the Ridge radio tower, but apparently.
Let's put it this way. I think we should vote to support it, and then when we find out where it is, we can decide how to allocate the revenue.
I have no problem supporting it. I just thought it was on that.
Then let's figure out where it's going to be, whether it's Leonardtown or Ridge, and if it is Ridge, I can agree with you that give the money down to the rescue squad or the fire department down there.
So the lease agreement, Commissioners, does say the principal offices are on Leonard Hall Drive in Leonardtown, Maryland.
Correct.
Oh, so
It
it's
is
over
ours.
here.
Right.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I just read what was on there. All right, I'm good. Second, whatever.
Okay, so I'll
So
move.
you'd have to change the motion, Commissioner Morgan.
I gotcha. I will make the motion to approve the Commissioners of St. Mary's County and Next Edge Networks LLC enter into an lease agreement for the purpose of leasing space on the Leonardtown radio tower site to receive $3,000 per year annual revenue and authorize the Commissioner present to sign all related documents.
Second.
All right, I have a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, any opposed? No. Thank you all very much. Thank you, Mr. Walker.
Thank you, Commissioners. And item D is from the Department of Human Resources with a resolution, Just Serve Volunteer Initiative. Catherine Pratson, Director, presenting this afternoon. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Dr. Bridget. Good afternoon, Commissioners.
Good afternoon.
You may recall that annually we participate along with the state of Maryland in a Day to Serve initiative. And recently, the initiative has been renamed. It's now the Just Serve Initiative, and it's supported by the Governor of Maryland. Governor Hogan is granting 4 hours of paid admin leave to all state employees who volunteer between September 11th and October 11th, 2021. And in the past years, we have done the same for county employees. I'm here to present a resolution if the commissioners would support doing that again this year.
So this doesn't require a vote?
It does.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, if you
Oh,
would
it is?
support
Okay,
the
I see.
resolution. Mhm. And then to participate in the community service event, employees are required to complete a leave request and obtain approval before volunteering. Upon completion of their volunteer time, to provide documentation, and then their time volunteering would be paid admin leave. We've also have a provision for employees that work 24/7 that they could volunteer as well on their off time and get the paid leave.
Well, I support this, but tell me, what kind of things would they do?
It's anything of their choice. We have it has to be a volunteer organization. We have a request now with a group that is beautifying the grounds of the library and the Senior Garvey Center, and they are hoping that I can solicit volunteers for that. We've had people that have supported the United Way in our area in the past, and then certainly church groups.
Well, I'll move to approve the Just Serve resolution providing county employees with up to 4 hours of paid administrative leave to take part in the volunteer activity of their choice from September 11th, 2021 through October 10th, 2021.
Second.
I have a first and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Sounds like that's unanimous. Thank you all very much. Thank you, Ms. Prince.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners. And item E is from the Department of Recreation and Parks with the FY22 Program Open Space Project applications. Mr. Shepard, Director, presenting this afternoon. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, and thank you. You know, there's a great opportunity here. DNR has additional allocation in the amount of some $85 million in the state of Maryland going to all the different counties. And our allocation here in St. Mary's for FY22 is $1.5 million. Now, what that tells you, Charles County, a larger population, received $3 million, and Calvert was $1.5 as well. This allocation does not require matching funds, but it requires projects, as you can, if you would read here in the email, their letter, design, construct, and provide capital equipment, indoor and outdoor park infrastructure, and other capital eligible projects, what we're used to normally doing. So then I identified some 5 projects and reviewed them with DNR staff, POS staff, and these are all permissible and acceptable projects. So then what I do is come here today and to have the application signed that go to Program Open Space so that we can get them to the state, then approved by the Board of Public Works, and then the funding then can be managed here locally. So there's 5 projects: baseball improvement, field improvement project, ADA improvement project, some amenities at Lexington Manor Passive Park, a new restroom at Chaptico Park adjacent to the turf fields will make that very manageable, and some athletic court improvements. I can go over those one at a time with you, or you can ask questions, so ever how you would choose.
I think it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, pretty straightforward.
I did have one question.
Yes, sir.
People have reached out to me about these 90-foot ball diamonds. I remember Chairwoman Bailey of the Board of Education said they couldn't find a 90-foot ball diamond, I guess anywhere in the county. Maybe, I don't know if that's true. I don't play baseball. Not anymore. My point to you is can we fit that in with this? Can we get 90-foot? Can we get those? You know what I'm talking about, Todd?
Yeah, there's the bigger kids play with 90, the little kids play with 60, and the problem is defining the 90s and 60s, as Arthur can probably easily explain.
So one of the assets we've gotten since a while back is we're permitted to utilize the 90-foot fields on the high schools now. Youth sports leagues are. So that's a significant change. And if you look in the plan here, Baggett Field number 2, 5th District Field, 90-foot diamond, the 90-foot diamond at 7th District, and at Dorsey Park, and improvements at all of them. Chancellor's our premier park already. However, the American Legion group that just left just asked, when am I going to get a turf infield for baseball? In jest, but not really. But our 90-foot diamonds, all this, so really the highlight of this is that grade, that grading those infields out, that infield mix, setting the bases, realigning them, getting good drainage, putting irrigation on some those infields, some of them that already have water, so that as it dries out, the infields are still at a high level and enhanced for playing. So to answer your question, Commissioner, we are going to address some of our 90-foot diamonds here. Those are part of the 19 fields that we're going to address.
Okay, so how many do you think you'll have? All of them?
Well, let me look on my list. So I'd tell you the 90-foot at Baggett, 5th District, 7th District, and Dorsey, and then the one at Chancellor's received, I'm going to say $30,000 worth of improvement since I arrived in 2017.
That gives you, what, 6?
So, no, we'll have 5, and then we'll have the school fields as well.
School fields, yeah, okay.
So our assets aren't far behind. And then of those, Dorsey, Chancellor's Run, Cecil, Baggett, and 5th District, all of them have lights as well.
Good, yeah.
Right. Now, you're reading something about these that
I think, Mr. Shepard, the point of is that we've literally doubled our 90-foot field since you started the initiative with working with the school system. So with all the fields that the school system has, what we have, we doubled the fields there. And then you've been working with all of the leagues and getting the right infield mix, getting the right type of grass, the fencing put up, the foul poles, et cetera, everything that needs to happen for all the leagues that we have for some time. I think at least 4 months now you've been working on this leading up to this project. Is that a fair statement?
Oh, that's correct.
Thank you.
Yeah, so you're going to have...
I appreciate it very much, and I know the do as well.
Oh, excuse me. So this will enhance. That means that we'll keep it in the CIP going out, because they'll still need some more to keep going. But this is a big lift to work with the youth sports league, especially our baseball leagues, in light of the improvements on the other multi-sport fields.
Mike, you okay?
What you're reading is in this packet, maybe I missed it, so. Did you see it in there?
No.
I didn't.
There was a checklist for what we're doing in of all the lists here with the Ys and the Ns, and then in your status memo there was a list.
I got you. I see it now. So you get the 90 over there on the left.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I move to approve the program Open Space, Local Parks and Playgrounds Infrastructure Funding Development Applications for the Ball Field Improvement Project, ADA Improvement Project, Lexington Manor Passive Park Project, Chaptico Park Restrooms Project, and the Court Improvement Program in the total amount of $1,500,000, and authorize the Commissioner President to execute the related documents.
Second.
I have a first and second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
We have consensus. Thank you, Mr. Shepard.
Thank you, Commissioners. And item F is from the Department of Finance to approve the calendar year 2022 Commissioners' meeting schedule and the FY 2023 budget calendar. Jeanette Cudmore, CFO, presenting this afternoon. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I almost said morning. Well, here we go. We're starting our budget process already. Don't you feel like we just kind of ended it?
It's so exciting.
So the timing of the calendar dates will accommodate various requirements related to the adoption of the budget, setting tax rates, and timing of submissions by internal and external agencies. There are no significant changes from the calendar accepted from last year. The calendar year 2022 Commissioner calendar identifies the county's holidays and identified them, and there will be no meeting now on June 21st, 2022, due to the latest holiday, June 19th. So the Finance considers the presentation of this calendar as the official start of the FY 2023 budget process. The adoption of the county's final budget will be on May 24th, 2022, and the Commissioner's agenda starts on January 4th and ends on December 13th, 2022.
I move to approve the calendar year 2022 Commissioners' meeting schedule accept the fiscal year 23 budget calendar as presented and direct staff to circulate the instructions and schedule meetings based on this calendar.
Second.
I have a first and second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
We have consensus. Thank you.
Commissioners, and we'll be back next week with the Board of Education CIP request
Is that on this
for their
calendar?
state. Yes, it is,
Oh, it is.
because their submission is due to the state on October 4th.
Wonderful.
So will you be sending us an update saying, or can we just keep this one and know it's it?
Oh, it's actually on the calendar.
Okay, but I'd like to put this somewhere where I can refer to it.
Oh, I'll email it to you.
I keep
But
it.
yes, you can use this. It's good
I can
to
use
go.
You can use this, yeah.
It was the draft, but
It's the draft, which looks pretty much the same as the official. We're just going to change the words on it, accepted, today.
I got you. Thank you.
So Commissioners, item G is also from the Department of Finance for the American Rescue Plan Act. Ms. Cudmore, you want to start us off?
Yes, I sure will. And I'm so glad to have our county administrator back. Because,
Thank you.
because now we are presenting to you the county administrator recommendations for the American Rescue Act. So we've been in front of you, I feel like a lot of times, and, included on May 25th as part of the approved, the $992,000. We were here on June 22nd, July 13th, July 20th, and then you approved on July 27th, $3.4 million, which of $2.4 went to our Information Technology Department, and then $1 million went to the Health Department. The interim final rule was released on May 17th, 2021, with comments being received on or before July 16th. Final guidance is still expected to be released to provide clarity on uses. And actually, on Friday, I finally got a response back from the U.S. Treasury, where I sent a request to them and questions based on the July 16th questions. When were they going to put out the final interim rule? And they said the Treasury is still working on finalizing the interim final rule, and that this will continue into the fall. So until the Treasury adopts a final rule and the final rule becomes effective, the interim final rule is and will remain binding and effective. So there you go.
It's very double talk, isn't it?
So the assurance that I heard, at least, was that the final rule will not be more restrictive than the interim rule.
Just provide, I think, more clarity
Right.
on the uses,
Right.
is what I had heard also, and I thank you.
Right.
Yes. Based on, and Jody is behind me, and she's taking notes, and that's based on the trainings that we've received and also the information that you provided to us, Commissioner Colvin, and we appreciate that.
Of course. Thank you.
So as part of the interim report, that was submitted on August 26th. That was due on the 31st, so yes, we got it done a couple of days. A revenue replacement calculation was completed, which at the last minute was completed, and this compared the 2019 revenue with the growth factor adding 4.1% to the calendar 2020. The calendar 2020 revenues exceeded the FY 2019 revenues, thus revenue replacement is not available at this time. So this is going to be a practice they're going to do probably for the next 2 or 3 years, where they're going to have us compare our revenues to see if any point in the next few years have our revenues actually decreased. So the calculation was interested. So I took the audit from 2019, and I actually, there it is. So, and we had to back out the federal revenue because this is a U.S. Treasury. Then I had to recalculate it because our financial statements are on fiscal year. So we were able to run a report in our system for calendar year 2020 and again backed out that revenue for federal. And then added the 4.1% growth factor, which was provided in the interim rule. And that actually showed, because our revenues actually exceeded the actual revenue after removing the federal revenue, was about $250 million. And that was compared to the 242 grown revenue. So therefore, we didn't have an available revenue replacement to use. So you'll see that when we get to the actual columns, the column for revenue replacement is 0.
And that's a good thing.
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
Except for the fact that if we were able to show revenue replacement, that money has the most flexibility in use. But
I'd rather be on the good side of the dollars than worry about where it's coming from. Sorry, Ms. Cudmore.
You're fine. So we have 7 reporting expenditure categories. When I actually went online on August 26th and completed the actual report for expenses through July 31st, which was only $704, so that first report was a little light. They identified the 7 reporting expenditure categories. So we've updated our schedule to reflect those categories. The 7 are public health, negative economic impacts, services to disproportionately impacted communities, premium pay, infrastructure, revenue replacement, administrative, and other. So to follow up from the last time I was in front of you, our actual requests are now $38.4 million. So they've been fine-tuned. We've received a few additional clarifying requests. And with that, we have an updated schedule. And I probably should have blown this up because the print is a little small, trying to get that in here. But on this new schedule, and like I said, Jody is behind me, and she's going to take good notes, and I'm sure Dr. Bridget always takes great notes, too. You'll see at the very end on the right-hand side, we've got all the requests. You'll see there's a 2022 county administrator recommendation and a 2023 county administrator recommendation. We added next to each request and before the priority order, based on the expenditure category, what we felt, or close to what we felt, the expenditure each request would fall under. Like we've said before, the ones that are for public health, fire departments, emergency services are pretty clear-cut. Ones for broadband, for IT are pretty clear. And then the ones for the health department and Metcom for your water and sewer infrastructure are pretty clear. The other ones we have to try to get as close as we can to the expenditure category. So then you'll notice, again, we've got all of them listed, and they're all in the expenditure level information. We have them in all the different columns. So we have the total request, which I said before, that equals the $38.4 million. The total approved when we were here on the 27th, that includes the $2.4 million, and you'll see that's highlighted in the middle of your first page to let you know that that's already been approved for your FY22 amount.
Okay, so that's the amount we had approved before. That's the 2.4 for broadband.
Yes, exactly. And then you've got the $1 million that was approved for the surge of COVID for the health department. And then you have, I think it's $992,000 at the bottom, items that were approved, part of the 2022 approved budget. So going down the list, we can go one by one, or we can go through a summary, but each column for the FY22 and the 23 actually equal the amount that we received and that the county will be eligible for. So you know that we received the $11,023,934 that was received on June 14th. And then we'll receive a similar amount next year about the same time that will actually be funded in the FY 2023 budget. As that budget authority. So the budget authority, that's for the 22, we have that already, because remember, we added that in the budget authority. We'll add the budget authority for 23 at that time when we do the 23 budget.
If you don't mind, can I interject for a second?
Sure.
In looking at these numbers, I think that, at least my point of view, is that I think some of this stuff is good to go today. I think that over time, the commissioners probably would like to have a little bit more internal discussion on some of those matters, so we're not just blanketly just coming out. So if I can make some recommendations to the table and see how everyone feels about it, would that be okay?
Sure.
If we could please start with the fire departments. I'd like to recommend that the FIT test machines for $83,655, the PPE washer extractor for $80,500, and the PPE dryer for $66,500 be approved to go forward today.
I agree.
This is Commissioner O'Connor. I think that's a great idea.
Well, I saw this recommendation a while back, a week or two ago, and I know that was up around $1 million instead of this amount we're looking at here. I still would like to say that these fire departments have taken a big hit with their carnivals being canceled, with their initiations or installations, all these events being canceled where they're not making any revenue. Now, again, they get the fire tax. I get that. But I just worked at Hollywood Volunteer Fire Department Carnival, and when I look at things like self-contained breathing apparatus, mass decontamination tent, air cleaning systems, and vehicle exhaust removal systems, I still support it. So what we're done, they initially asked for $3,734,000. I thought I saw something a week or two ago that was County Administrator's recommendation of $2,324,000. Now it's been reduced down to what it is. I know they'll take whatever they can get, but if the money's not going to them, where's it going to go? Who's going to get it?
I was not advocating to not give it to them. I'm just trying to take it in a step-by-step sequential basis that all the decisions don't have to be made today, but I think it's important that we start getting some of this money out and we can come back to those figures at a later time for discussion.
Well, it looks like what we're doing here is we've already made a decision on where to go. At least the county administrator has changed her mind, which is fine.
I don't think she may change her mind.
Well, it's different than what was the last time we saw the county administrator's recommendation. And I guess my point to you, Commissioner Morgan, is that that's fine. Look, a majority of commissioners makes a decision. That's the way it goes. But these firefighters, these volunteers that we have, need all the help we can get. Now, if we can't give it to them, or if there's not a political will there to give it to them, so be it. But I'll still say this is not enough for them.
I don't think that it's about the political will. It just doesn't have to all be done today.
So I think my question is I'm trying to figure out, Commissioner Hewitt, what is it you want to do? Because I get everything you've said but about the money and the decisions, but what are your intentions? What do you want to do? Because I want to understand that part of it to see if it's something I can support.
Well, again, Commissioner Morgan, you're going through, and you got your 3 votes, so it is what it is. So, I'm
just trying to get the ball rolling and I'm not trying to slow the ball down, but I want to get the ball rolling and do it in a manner that has, at least, we have 2 people who I haven't talked to in a few weeks, and they're on the Zoom, and I'm just gradually trying to get the thing going, and that's just my recommendation. If you don't like it, then...
No, that's fine. I mean, look, you get 3 votes, and that's all it takes. So I'm just going to say I'm just going to explain my point of view.
And I will promise you I am not going to not look at those instances and those things that you've recommended. I'm just trying to get the ball rolling today.
I guess my whole thought is I'm fine with what you're talking about, getting the ball rolling. I totally agree. But I just would like to know, I don't have to know, but I just know that 2 weeks ago, it was one recommendation of giving them $1 million, a little over, about $1.1 million each year. And it was going to do what you just talked about, plus the 541, excuse me, item number 4 on their agenda, which has now been pushed out to next year, and item number 5. That was going to get them to this about $1.1 million and some change. And then we were going to come in the following year with the items number 6, 7, and 8, which was probably going to be the additional million or so. That's what I seem to remember, Dr. Bridget. Maybe
So, Commissioner Hewitt, you're absolutely right. We've done many drafts of this over the last several weeks, and so part of it is trying to strike the balance as kind of the thinking is this is round 1 to get us again moving again, because the commissioners have made several dates, as Ms. Cudmore mentioned, of where you've approved. So our thinking is that today you go through and give us the items that you're ready to check off the list so that we can have folks begin to make the purchases or know what difficulties they have. And then come back. We thought about 4 weeks or when the commissioners would like us to, but that gives us time to sort through and bring back a status report, for example. It also, the other change, I think, from the draft that you're suggesting is that initially we allocated all the money across the board. One of the suggestions suggestions when Jeanette and I were talking was that doesn't give any leeway to the commissioners if there are other projects that we are unidentified. And so we created an excess each year so that as you receive additional funding, additional requests or something we don't know about, that gives you the opportunity at a later time to come forward and say, can we consider X? And so those were some of those kinds of conversations that happen, difference between draft and when we come to you for approval.
Okay, I guess what I'm saying here is we're talking $22 million in that neighborhood. And each year, 22 and 23, has $11 million down at the bottom. Now, you talk about your excesses, which I see down there. One year it's 645, next year it's about 370. That's about $1 million. So we're actually allocating 21 of the 22 million, or a little over 21. Now, what we've done with the fire departments is, again, the last draft, I will say, and I'll use the term I'll refer to, that talked about them getting $2,324,350. Now, what's been taken out is approximately $1,550,575 in the county administrator's recommendations. Now, so if that $1,555,000, it doesn't equal your excess down to bottom. So I guess I would like to know who gets it. Does broadband get it? Does health department get it? Where does it go? But if it's a matter of we want flexibility, I understand that. But I will still advocate for those fire departments.
Okay, so I'm going to go back to my question since you never answered it. What are you proposing now? Because Commissioner Morgan is proposing that these 3 or 4 projects, you've said a lot. What is your plan? What do you want more to go to the fire departments today? Or do you just want to go with what Commissioner Morgan has? Because you keep saying you have 3 votes, but nobody's voted yet. So what I'm telling you is I haven't had a conversation with Commissioner Morgan about this. He just brought it forward. What would you like to do today, Commissioner Hewitt? What's your solution to this? Do you have a proposition?
Well, it's not a solution. It's just to say that what I saw previously, I agreed with. What I see today, I don't agree with. That's all.
Okay. So the only offer we have on the table is from Commissioner Morgan to fund these 3. But if you'd like to fund more projects in this, I'm open to considering that if you feel that the fire departments need to have more of an allocation at this time, based on what you're seeing, is what I'm trying to say. So if there's any particular projects that you, from the fire department, you want to put there, I'm open to it.
I guess what I would say, though, is that we're trying, I've heard someone say they're trying to get flexibility here. And I understand that. Flexibility is important. I was just surprised to see this jump of going from one way to the other, and when I read it yesterday, I was surprised, honestly. That's what I want to say. I thought we were going one way, and if we're not going there. So,
fair enough.
If this is a matter, again, what I saw 2 weeks ago, the draft, I liked. What I see today, but again, if Commissioner Morgan's, look, I respect you. If you think it's the best way to go.
I'm just trying to move the process along. And I'm not disagreeing that I agree we should come back and look at those projects again. There's no doubt in my mind about that. I'm just saying for today, I just want to get some of this stuff rolling and we can come back and talk about it. Like I said, John and Randy are away. I've been away for 2 weeks, so it's trying to pick up the pieces and move forward now that we're past Labor Day, back into our regular sessions again.
Right, and I agree. I think I've had members of fire departments reach out to me about these specific funds too. I don't think anyone up here doesn't want to support the fire departments. We all agree on that. But I think, Todd, if you want to just keep working through the county administrator recommendations, and we'll see where we get at the end.
Okay, and on the public works side, I was going to support the program manager for stormwater and the CIP RAC water service project. I was going to ask to support the retrofit sidewalk program to take care of that group for the time being. I'll just run through them all.
Okay.
On the IT side, I think that with the PIO Audio, video equipment is a good one. I support all three of the Recs and Parks requests. On the Sheriff's Office side, I support the detention center visitation area renovation, and also the backup D1 generator. Continuing to the next page, I've had a number of conversations with Mr. Erickson and folks over at METCOM, and I think it's really critical that we get the St. Clemens Shore Sewer Phase B program moving quickly.
I agree.
For a number of reasons, and that was sort of where I brought my initial list today to get to. And to recognize that, as Dr. Bridges said, and Commissioner, you pointed out, we can come back and we have plenty of money to work with, and requirements keep changing along the way, and to ensure that, people can make plans and beginning to move ahead. And, with some of the departments now, they're pretty stressed out. I don't want to throw a whole nother pile of stuff on them that just keeps adding to the pile and the straw that breaks the camel's back.
So I think that's kind of key here. Unlike the COVID CARES funds that we had, we don't have that same time constraint that we have to get it
Exactly.
identified as quickly.
The funding needs to be encumbered by December 31, 2024.
Okay.
So we have a lot of time. And if you just want to go through and have consensus on a number of any of these, we can take that, we can come back later, and then we can kind of go through and say, okay, what's been approved, like my column that says what was approved as of July 27th. Then we can come back and identify any others at that time. But if there's any consensus today, maybe there's a few that you would like to approve.
So can we go with Commissioner Morgan's list and begin there to see if the other commissioners either concur, agree, or disagree with his list? Is that okay with you, Commissioner Morgan?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's fine going with Commissioner Morgan's list so far.
Just a point of clarification for the Recreation and Parks, 3 projects. That's 2 of them are next fiscal year and one's
Right.
this year, correct?
Right.
Just
Correct.
making sure I understood that correctly. Okay. Then I agree.
And as a Commissioner Guy, I concur also.
So that gives you your votes.
All right. So what we'll do is we'll go back and I've got them all marked M. Jody's in the back taking notes. Dr.
Oh.
Bridget's got her notes. And we will.
Need a motion, though.
Yes, we do.
So the motion we have is as presented. If you can make the motion as amended, that would be helpful for us.
I'll make the motion as amended
Thank you.
with everything I rattled off.
Yep.
And I think.
Wait, they need a
excuse me,
second
They need a
for a minute.
second.
So I need a second.
Second.
Okay, I have a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll vote no.
Any opposed?
say?
1 no.
It was a yes.
Randy was a yes.
Okay.
And I can assure the public, we will.
And I'm a yes. Yeah.
So it's 4-1?
Yeah.
Okay, so we will be coming, I can assure the public, we will be coming back to address these fire department issues. I can promise you.
And a motion, and that needed to be in here that we didn't include in here, depending on whether you were going to approve the $2.6 million for METCOM or not. They need a motion for us to say, to amend their CIB 22 through 27, just so they wouldn't have to come back, because that 2.6 is actually a part of their CIB. And then that just saves them a trip in front of coming back.
Okay, so whatever you just said will be the motion.
Okay.
And I'll make that motion, whatever you just said.
To amend the CIP for
Yeah,
METCOM
to-
2022 through 27.
Made for the St. Clemens Water Project.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 We have consensus. Mr. Erickson, are you good with that?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Very good.
Thank you very much, Commissioners, and we'll be back in about a month. We'll reschedule, and then we'll come back with the remaining balances.
So, Ms. Cudmore, just one comment. You know, it's almost like a mini budget work session that we've gone through with this,
Yes.
and that you're going through with this, except instead of just having to answer to us, you have to answer to the federal government, too. And
And I'm happy to do that.
at the end of the day, this is a good thing for St. Mary's County. There's a lot of really good work being done with this
Absolutely.
money. It's all going to really good causes and going to help a lot of really good things. So thank you.
Exactly.
Thank you
Thank
for your
you.
work with it.
Thank you, Commissioners. And the last item on the County Administrator's agenda is Leadership Southern Maryland. So for your review, just a reminder that the Commissioners have sponsored a St. Mary's County government employee in the Leadership Southern Maryland program for the last several years prior to COVID. COVID-19 pandemic in March of 2020, like many other programs and events, Leadership Southern Maryland was canceled. To save funding in FY 2021, we reduced this funding since it was not needed. Not knowing its fate in FY 22, the funding was not restored until we knew the outcome. Now we know the outcome. Leadership Southern Maryland has resumed their 9-month leadership training course for middle managers, and Angie Graves, who's a fiscal supervisor in Aging and Human Services, has been accepted into the program. Due to the delay in the pandemic and responsibly not funding a training that was not occurring, we're requesting a budget amendment to fund the sponsorship for Leadership Southern Maryland from the Commissioners' Reserve.
I move to approve the use of the fiscal year 2022 Commissioner Reserve for the St. Mary's County sponsored employee tuition for Leadership Southern Maryland.
Second.
Second.
I have a first and second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye. Aye.
We have consensus. Thank you, Dr. Bridget.
Thank you, Commissioners, and this ends County Administrator time.
All right. At this time, I will accept a motion to move to the Board of Health.
I move to adjourn the Commissioners of St. Mary's County and reconvene the St. Mary's County Board of Health.
Second.
A first and second, all in favor?
Discussion. Recently, I requested a explanation of why we have to be the Board of County Commissioners, and then we have to be the Board of Health. I've been on this board 7 years, going on 7 years now, or a commissioner for 7 years, and I just didn't understand what was the difference. I did some research on my own, and before, they didn't do that. And that's something that's happened in the last, 10, 15 years. So I just wondered what that meant. And what it means is we're going to obviously listen to our Board of Health, our health director, and take her recommendations. And we do have the potential or the wherewithal to make recommendations or make motions on what she requests. But that is as the Board of Health. But it also comes over us as the Board of County Commissioners. So whatever we do as the Board of Health transfers over into our Board of County Commissioners. I just didn't understand why you needed both. What was the difference? Why couldn't we just go on? But thank you, he's not here, David Weiskopf for helping me understand that. Thank you.
It is a unique situation. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Ayes have it. We are now in the Board of Health. Dr. Brewster.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
About to say good morning. All right. Thank you all, Commissioners. Appreciate your time today. Today will be a briefer update, I think. Unless you have questions, of course, we'll be happy to answer. We'll move on to the first slide. Thank you for handling the slides. We are still in high community transmission of COVID-19. We have a variety of data points available on our St. Mary's County Health Department website, as the website listed here. I will highlight some of that data in a moment. I do want to mention that we've been having some loading difficulties with some of the graphs on our data page, and we are implementing some major changes to the data page, which will include new data points that we hope to announce either at the end of this week or towards the beginning of next week. We're working with our dashboard contractor right now to get all that squared away. Our new COVID cases by week, so the total number of new cases on a weekly basis. For the past few weeks, we've been hanging out at about the same number of weekly new cases, which is definitely better than the escalation that we were seeing in the weeks prior. We still haven't seen the impact from Labor Day just yet. And there's probably still some impact of return to in-person school and work environments and so forth that we may see in the weeks ahead. So we're following this very closely, of course, as is the whole county. Next page. And that's, of course, reflected in the daily new case rate as well. Our breakdown by age, we're now seeing the 0 to 19 age group as the age group with the highest new case rate in our county, although the 20 to 39 age group is not far behind. And we did see originally some uptick in the 60-plus age group. Of course, that's fallen. Fortunately, that's fallen a little bit in the past couple weeks, but we're keeping an eye on that as well. Our 7-day case rate, this is a new graph that you haven't seen before, but this one is looking at the 7-day case rate per 100,000 by vaccination status. It tries to, by doing it based on population versus gross numbers, it tries to neutralize the impact of number of people who are vaccinated versus number of people who are not vaccinated on the evidence of infection.
So what you're seeing is increase in non-vaccinated, decrease in vaccinated.
More recently, yes, sir. But we did see, because of some of the breakthrough infections that we were having over the course of August primarily, we did see a slight rise in the number of infections, or the 7-day case rate at least, in the fully vaccinated population. But fortunately, that started to decline somewhat, although we haven't seen that decline in the not fully vaccinated population just yet.
But as you point out, Dr. Brewster, and you looked at a couple of slides back with the age, you see the not fully vaccinated going up, and then the vaccinated going down, and the age limit. But let's forget that the people who were older were able to get their vaccines much earlier along the way, and the permission for the youngers has not come to more recently. So if I choreograph this correctly, there's a cause and response in there that the later the CDC allowed younger people to get vaccinated, it's just maybe catching up as they're trying to catch up.
Yeah, that's an excellent insight, sir, and exactly that. When you look at the age groups in the graph prior, as you stated, the older age groups are the ones where we have higher rates of vaccination for either age eligibility or just because they do have higher rates of vaccine adoption compared to the younger age groups. And again, that may be why we're seeing a little bit of that difference too. Thank you. Thanks for pointing that out.
Dr. Brewster, last week I watched some, not all, of President Biden's speech where he talked about the vaccine and the status and all, and he had a number in there that a little different than your numbers. He said that 1 in 5,000 people who have been vaccinated are testing positive for COVID, and that number seemed to be somewhat of a reassuring number, kind of as perspective. 1 in 5,000 people are getting positive once they're vaccinated. Can you comment on that? Do you agree with that number?
Yeah, absolutely. And so that is looking at national data, of course, and that considers communities where they have lower vaccination rates and higher vaccination rates than what we have here in St. Mary's County. In looking at our local data, this is a 7-day case rate. So this isn't a daily case rate, it's a 7-day case rate. If you had 100,000 people who were fully vaccinated, that's that green line right there. That's, if we were trending what we're currently seeing, that's the number of people that would be identified as having infection across that 7 days. Does that make sense?
It does.
So that 1 in 5,000 is a different way of looking at a rate.
Okay.
This is looking at what would be the number of people we'd see infected over the course of 7 days per 100,000 people, not 5,000, per 100,000 people who were fully vaccinated.
Okay.
But again, the national data is looking at a much bigger picture of jurisdictions who have quite differing, vaccination rates than what we see here in St. Mary's County. And to add to that explanation, while this is per vaccination status, keep in mind that the amount of COVID transmission in a community, which is higher, tends to be higher in communities where there's less people vaccinated, that also increases the risk of having those breakthrough infections. So in communities where you have higher vaccination rates, right, you're going to tend to see lower rates of COVID infection in both the unvaccinated and the vaccinated. This is an update on COVID fatalities. Since I think I last came here, I believe we've added on one, and there's one that's pending currently that we're waiting on records for. COVID hospitalizations continue to be elevated compared to what we saw in June and July. We expected, again, as I've mentioned before, hospitalizations tend to lag behind infections by at least a few weeks. Of course, these are the hospitalization beds taken up throughout any Maryland hospital, but it does exclude all the federal facilities like VA hospitals and NIH. This is the fully vaccinated by age chart that's also on our website, and there's additional detail for those who want for first doses on our website as well. We have seen in the past couple weeks since I last came here, we have seen an increase in the number of St. Mary's County residents who have now become fully vaccinated. We expect that this will continue to happen as more and more businesses require vaccination of their employees, or as more and more incentives are rolled out to encourage employees to get vaccinated. And hopefully that will go alongside a decrease in transmission of COVID in our community. This is a chart you've seen before, and just kind of looking at the trend, again, similar to what you've seen already in prior slides. The majority of new cases, of course, are happening in those who are unvaccinated, although we are seeing some breakthrough infections in those who are fully vaccinated.
Dr. Russo, I'm assuming partially vaccinated means one shot?
Yeah, usually partially vaccinated means they didn't complete the series. Now, they may have recently started vaccine. For example, we definitely have seen people start to get more vaccine, especially now that they've been identified maybe as a close contact. They just haven't, by this point of this slide, they haven't gotten to the point of getting their second dose.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. We also are looking at weekly new hospitalization admissions by vaccination status. And we are seeing some breakthrough hospitalizations, which I'll detail out in a moment. The main point is to consider is that vaccines, the COVID-19 vaccines, are protecting a large number of individuals who are still having breakthrough infections, are protecting from severe illness. It's not 100%. There's still situations, especially in older individuals, as you'll see in a moment, where they may have more complicated disease, or because of their underlying chronic illnesses, it's safer for them to be in a hospital setting to recuperate from their COVID-19 symptoms. So if you move to the next slide, this actually is a new slide for you. It's a breakthrough hospitalizations by age graph, and this will be one of the items that we have in our new data page when we roll it out. But as you can see, the main point from this slide is that those who are having hospitalizations after getting COVID infection after being fully vaccinated tend to be individuals in that 60-plus age group, at least for residents here in St. Mary's County.
Okay, now that 23 as of 9/13/20, that's in the whole state or St. Mary's County residents?
Those are St. Mary's County residents who are hospitalized in any...
Or in St. Mary's County?
So this data is reflecting St. Mary's County residents who are hospitalized at any Maryland hospital.
That's anywhere in Maryland?
Right, except for the federal facilities like the VA hospitals.
Okay.
And is this all encompassing or a point in time?
That data point right there, the 9/13, is a point in time. This is all the total graph, right, is for all breakthrough infections that we've had since we started identifying breakthrough infections, which would have been after the first wave of people were fully vaccinated, I think back in February, sometime.
But they could be in any county in the state?
They're all St. Mary's County residents, but they could be hospitalized in any county, right. And that's something we're familiar with down here because a lot of people who have more severe illness, for example, who may originally get hospitalized at MedStar St. Mary's might get transferred up to a higher level or higher acuity hospital, depending on what their needs are. So regardless of which hospital they're in, again, except for whether they're in a federal facility, they would get counted here once as a new hospitalization. So yes, and again, to clarify for your question, Commissioner Colvin, this goes back from the February of 2020, or sometime in February 2020 when we first started having that period of time where people were first fully vaccinated. Okay. St. Mary's County deaths by vaccination status, a graph you've seen before as well. This is just an update to that, and it's by month. Testing. So as you can imagine and expect, especially after the start of in-person schooling and Labor Day holidays, we are experiencing tremendously high volumes at our 2 testing sites right now in the county. So I just want to relay our appreciation at the Health Department for the public's patience as they go to these testing sites. We are working on staffing up at those testing sites. We're also working on staffing up testing sites at the 2 school-based health centers to help defray some of the volume at the other 2 sites. It is much easier and faster for everyone if people take the time to pre-register and get tested. And that pre-registration can happen on our website, that link right there. It's very quick. It's not mandatory to pre-register, but when people pre-register, it definitely facilitates movement through that testing line for everyone. So we really appreciate whoever can to please take the effort, or the minute to go ahead and pre-register for their test. We have updated some information on the vaccine since I last spoke with you a couple weeks ago. If you go to the next slide, the main update is related to booster doses. So currently eligible, and when I was here in front of you a couple weeks ago, we had talked about those individuals who were immune compromised as being eligible for those booster doses. And as the first 2 bullets on that left side of the screen describe. Since that time, Governor Hogan announced off-label authorization for booster doses for residents living in certain types of situations, primarily individuals living in nursing homes, those are the long-term care facilities, assisted living facilities, and DDA, the Developmental Disabilities Administration group homes, and also residential treatment facilities like substance use treatment facilities where they actually live there for a period of time. Because of the higher risk of COVID infection in these congregate settings and the underlying compromise of health that many individuals that live in these settings may have, he had taken the decision to go ahead and authorize off-label use of the booster doses for this population. So again, the vaccine has been authorized, and many of these individuals, because of concentrated efforts of many, have already been fully vaccinated. This is taking it a step further and saying, okay, we're going to authorize booster doses now for those in these facilities. And that's a Maryland thing. That isn't something yet that the FDA has put out. So if you move to the right column in terms of not yet eligible, this is the news that we're waiting for. We are waiting for the FDA to make a decision as to what additional populations they will authorize for booster doses. So we've heard about the immune compromised. That's what's been adopted nationally. What we haven't heard about yet are other individuals or other populations or other groups in our population. We're anxiously awaiting. We hope by next week. And there's an FDA meeting planned for the end of this week, and so we're hoping that there'll be some decision-making coming out of that. So we have a better idea as to who will be authorized for booster doses, if any additional groups are. At what interval after their second dose will they be authorized for vaccine? So there's been some discussion of 6 months after or 8 months after. We're waiting on that national guidance. And third, what vaccine types are authorized for booster doses? Is it going to be both Moderna and Pfizer? Is it going to be only Pfizer recipients? What about J&J recipients or Johnson & Johnson vaccine recipients? So there's a lot of question marks still. I hope that the next time I come in front of you, I'll have some of these answers. And certainly as soon as we hear the news, we're ready in St. Mary's County. We have activated our mass vaccine site to support the rollout of booster doses. We've been active since September 10th. I was there on the vaccine line that date, and I was really happy with the turnout that we saw from our community coming through that line to get booster doses. And I think we'll be able to support that moving forward.
I stopped by there Friday afternoon. I think they were 360 for the number of shots they gave last Friday afternoon. I was just driving down there, I'm going to see what's going on. And they said, 360 that was a number like a 330, so they probably did more. But I'm really glad to see that maybe people are getting the message, go get the shot.
Yeah, exactly. And again, that was mainly geared towards individuals who wanted to come in to get their booster dose because they fit under that immune compromised category.
Well, tell me, that 360 that Commissioner Morgan's referring to, is that the number of people who got boosters or just got first time, you say first, second, or booster?
Yes, right, we are doing first, second, or booster. The majority of people that came to that clinic were coming there for booster doses.
Oh, okay, so people who haven't been vaccinated.
No, people who were vaccinated but were coming in for their third
And
dose.
I understand what you're talking about, Dr. Bruce. But I'm saying people who are not vaccinated
Okay.
are still not showing up in the numbers we'd like to see yet.
So we are vaccinating people who haven't been vaccinated we're operating today at the Hollywood Fire Department, for example, and we're getting people there who haven't been vaccinated yet. We're also open on Friday, and we have people scheduled who haven't been vaccinated yet.
I guess my point is, if we had 360, it would be encouraging if 300 were getting vaccinated for the first time.
Sure, that would be great news. And we're going to keep it open.
That doesn't seem to be the case.
Yeah, well, I think it's going to improve. We have seen, as I showed you before, the numbers have improved in the past few weeks. I think with, as I said, with some of the vaccine incentives and vaccine mandates that are being pushed out by private businesses especially, we'll start to see more and more of those individuals get vaccinated. We are doing vaccine on a daily basis at the hub location in Lexington Park, Great Mills. So we are getting a certain number of people that we're vaccinating every day there. And we're also, like I said, starting to see more people, first dosers, register for vaccine at the mass vaccine site.
I'm going to wait till you're done before I ask my question.
Okay, sure, no problem, thank you. All right, let's move to the next slide then. So as we're talking about COVID, of course, we have the regular specter of flu to contend with. And this year in particular, because we've now returned thousands of students to in-person learning in these indoor environments, and individuals going back into the workplaces who were previously teleworking, we're more concerned about flu transmission this year than perhaps what we saw last season, when there was a lot more remote learning, remote work, social distancing, and even more masking. And so given that, we know that when influenza hits, it tends to cause a significant load on our healthcare system. It certainly affects students' ability to learn in person and worker ability to be in person. In a time of COVID, we're of course concerned about people getting co-infected with both flu and COVID at the same time, and what that does to a person's ability to fight off each of those infections. And so we're really strongly encouraging everyone 6 months and older who doesn't have a medical contraindication to please go get flu vaccinated. And if you could do it by the end of October, that helps this community have some level of readiness for all the flu transmission we tend to see during this season. The health department is hosting alongside the St. Mary's County Public Schools in a partnership, a long-standing partnership we've had with them for several years. On the week of October 20th, we are going to be doing school-located flu clinics at each of the public school elementary and middle schools. And the consent forms and language on that will be transmitted through the public schools, and then our non-public schools are invited to participate in that if they would like to as well.
Do you offer flu shots through the school-based health centers?
Yeah, so we actually have a clinic. The school-based health centers are a little smaller, so it's hard to rush through the number of people for a flu vaccine clinic in that setting. We usually use cafeterias and larger open spaces for that purpose. We are going to, for the mass vaccine located at school settings, it'll be a particular event where people come through and they get flu vaccinated. If we have flu vaccine supply remaining after that, we'll try to make it ongoing available at some of our clinical sites.
Okay.
Just to point out, the last bullet there, because we've had a lot of questions about this, flu vaccine and COVID vaccine can be co-administered. So that means that you can get both your COVID vaccine if you haven't received it yet, or a booster, at the same time you get your flu vaccine. We just encourage people to get it in separate arms.
So it's 2 shots at the same time?
Yes, but in different arms. Yep.
Which one's more sore?
Depends. All right, and that's it from me, but I'm happy to answer your questions, sirs.
Okay, let me.
Yellow, red. So, Dr. Brewster, one of the things that I want to address is basically the COVID fatigue that is currently going on, and not only that, on the political level, where Commissioner Hewitt asked a seemingly innocuous question and got an innocuous answer back. And, the first thing I read it and I'm like, oh, great. Now the wrath of the left and the right is going to come down upon all of us, and we're not going to stop hearing it forever because it's a simple question. But I guess it goes more to the data that you're giving, and that, politics and science don't belong together. So regardless, the Board of Health is the Board of Health. The Board of County Commissioners is the Board of County Commissioners, and we have to rely on the science. And watching things bleed back and forth between Charles County and commissioners over there inserting themselves into St. Mary's, and then we have delegates across, what's the best way that you can recommend from the medical point of view to convey the message that this really is an important decision to base off of the facts that you're finding, the doctors are finding, the governor's office is finding, versus all this independent research? How do you recommend doing that?
Are you referring, sir, to the decision about vaccination for COVID?
Generally speaking, yeah, because we're getting, a lot of people are concerned about the mandates. A lot of people are concerned about mask mandates, not mandating vaccines or not mandating masks. What do you think the best way is to convey the science of why we are where we are from the medical point of view? What is the message that is best served as the Board of Health, I guess is what I'm asking.
Okay. I'll try to answer that as best as I can, and if you have any additional, clarification you need, please just let me know. Ultimately, health is not a political issue and really shouldn't be. And the role of your health officials and scientists really should be to relay the findings and the evidence of that's scientifically based, driven by research and data. In a pandemic, that is more challenging because you have a new virus and you have a constantly mutating virus, which continuously causes changes in dynamics. And because of that, because it's a new virus, that's the essence of definition of a pandemic, really. Because it's a new virus, we're constantly learning. And as we are continuing to learn, the recommendations may get updated, but ultimately the recommendation should be based upon data and science. And I think that's, if this is part of your question, obviously as we convene as the Board of Health, it's important, I think, and which is why we're all making the effort to meet regularly and make sure the public has access to the information that we review here today, and then also has ongoing access to the science and the data, through, for example, through our St. Mary's County Health Department website and other means. I think as we are, dealing with this pandemic, it's important for us to be continually communicating that science and sharing that data and demonstrating the impact of the pandemic on, of course, on all of our lives, right? And then the impact of certain strategies that we've deployed, like vaccination. So I think the data, if this is part of your question, I think the data is pretty clear, as you can all see, that if you're fully vaccinated, you have a greater level of protection against severe illness, and you have a greater level of protection against COVID infection. It's not 100%. When we say effective, we don't mean something's 100% effective. Usually effectiveness is statistically significant differences when we do analysis in the data. And we certainly see that with vaccines. Vaccines for COVID are effective. That message has been clear, and that message continues. Despite the number of breakthrough infections we've been seeing, we clearly are seeing the benefit of a fully vaccinated, population, or a portion of our population that's fully vaccinated. So I think the number one message really to grab onto as a community and as elected officials and as scientists and public health officials who follow the science and the data is recognizing that these vaccines that we have readily accessible to us here locally are effective, and they are saving lives, and they are decreasing the amount of days off from school and days off from work. And certainly the prospect of long COVID, or those long symptoms of COVID that we're concerned about, is decreased if you're vaccinated as well. I don't know if that answers your question, sir.
Actually, it answered it very well. Thank you. Because, you know, one of my biggest concerns is the blending of county lines and decisions from other counties, and how, you know, people are trying to blend the party politics along with it. Meanwhile, this Board of Health is listening to the data that's presented in front of us. You know, education, and pushing that side of it, which you've been great with. So I think that overall, you hit the nail on the head for what I was trying to get a better understanding of, and especially in that last part. So I do appreciate it.
Sure, thank you.
Okay, tell me. Well, first off, I got the booster, and I got to say, I looked at your website and looked at the, you know, list of things there, and I fit at least one, maybe two.
Okay.
So when I called I thought it was kind of interesting. And again, it's not about me. It's about people who want to know when they can get the booster. And the point was, is the lady said, I said, well, I got this and I got that. And she said, look, you don't have to tell me that. She said, you just need to tell me if you're immune compromised.
Sure. We're not actually allowed to ask about specific health conditions.
So when I was at church on Sunday, there's a usher there that's with me. He's in his 80s, and he wants to get his. He said, but I think I'm immune compromised. I went through cancer. I said, you got to be. I said, but they won't even ask you. That's true, right?
So we ask the question in the registration, as you saw when you must have registered, because we only vaccinate people who register.
Right.
When you register, there's a question if you're immune compromised. For those people who answer yes, we will vaccinate them. For those people who answer no, then we ask at the time they show up for their appointment, you know, you've answered no, we're only authorized to vaccinate immune compromised and so forth. And we ask if it was a mistake or not, and if so, they re-register. If not, we turn them away.
No, it was a great process, and it was very smooth and very simple.
Great.
So tell me, some people have said, I think I'm immune compromised, and I'll look in that site, but I don't want to take a vaccine from somebody who could be, you know, more immune compromised than that person is. So the key is, when we first started this vaccination thing, there was more supply, more demand than there was supply. Now, the lady told me there's more supply than there is demand.
That's correct. We have plenty of supply right now. If people feel that they meet that immune compromise criteria, or if their doctor tells them they do, then they can go ahead and register and go ahead and get the booster vaccine now.
Okay, now another question I was asking, again, I don't know the answer, that's why I'm asking you, is if you get the booster, does that mean you may show symptoms of COVID?
Not necessarily, but you could have some of those symptoms people get after a vaccine that usually lasts 1 to 3 days. A sore arm, maybe they're wiped out for a day, you know, all of that. There's still, it's the same vaccine formulation. So if you got Pfizer before, then your booster dose was the same thing that you had as your first and second dose of Pfizer. If you had Moderna, your Moderna booster is the same thing you had as your Moderna first dose and Moderna second dose.
Got it. So tell me, that leads to my question about the PCR testing. Now, is that something that you can get done without an appointment in Leonardtown or in Lexington Park?
Yeah, you don't need to have an appointment. We're just asking people to pre-register in advance. Pre-registration isn't an appointment. Pre-registration allows us to collect some of that information in our system so that when you show up in the line, we don't have to spend the 5-10 minutes collecting that information
Again,
before we
that's
do the
all
sick test.
confidential. Nobody gets your
Correct.
data.
Yes, correct.
But the PCR testing, you use the term the gold standard. So if someone were to say get the vaccine and wasn't feeling good afterwards, they could go get the PCR test and it would come back negative?
They could. What we encourage people to do is to recognize that after getting the vaccine, they may have those types of symptoms, the sore arm, the fatigue, maybe even a headache or even a day of fever in that 1 to 3 day period after getting the vaccine. So it's okay in that situation to wait it out and see, unless you know that you've been recently exposed to somebody with COVID. If you've recently been a close contact of somebody with COVID, then one, you should be quarantining ideally, or two, you can get tested if you're concerned about those symptoms.
Well, I say that because I was recently at a wedding, and the point was, obviously, the wedding was a lot of people there. And there were some people there that weren't vaccinated. And I said, well, how come you're not vaccinated? Doesn't make any sense. They said, well, we have the antibodies. How do you know you have the antibodies? well, we've been exposed to it, and we're still fine, so we're good, so we must, so there's a lot of miscommunication going on, is my point.
Yeah, Commissioner, you bring up an excellent point. Actually, all your questions have been excellent. Thank you for them. This one is a really important one. People thinking that just because they had COVID, meaning that that they're free and they're protected and so forth. There have been a variety of studies that have come out, some more recent science suggesting that getting vaccinated after having had COVID infection, if you haven't already been vaccinated, gives you a boost to your protection. So typically, yes, after somebody's had infection to anything, a virus or a bacteria, they may build some level of natural immunity. And I think I addressed, maybe you had asked me, Commissioner Colvin, at the last commissioner meeting, that there is some level of natural immunity. But that natural immunity response varies from person to person. We can't reliably say that somebody is going to have strong, robust immune response that protects them from future infection, and that it lasts for a period of time. We think it probably lasts for a few months, but as more different kind of variants come out, we're not sure if the COVID infection you had 2 months ago is going to protect you against the Delta variant as well.
Right.
And so that's why we are encouraging people, even if you had COVID infection, if you're unvaccinated, please go ahead and get COVID vaccine. If you want to wait a few months, you wait a few months, but please try to go ahead and get your COVID vaccine. It does boost that immunity and give you a stronger, more reliable level of immunity for a period of time.
Okay, now, there's still no COVID vaccine for children under 12.
Correct. Or there's no COVID vaccine that's been approved yet nationally for children under 12.
Okay, and I saw another report in the news, I was watching news. Anyway, they're saying now that they're not recommending that you get the booster, even if it becomes available to the general population. Now they're saying maybe you shouldn't get the booster. What's that about?
So there's been, that's definitely been a catchy headline in the past few days. There was a body of scientists who looked at some of the science around booster doses and the impact of booster doses in the general population. We're not talking about the immune compromised. We're talking about the general population overall. And in looking at that general population, their conclusion were that booster doses weren't needed at this point in time, that immunity continues after vaccination, and they didn't feel that booster doses were needed at this time. We are waiting on, the FDA does a very vigorous review of all the scientific literature, including studies that may have been more current than what this group had reviewed. And so we're waiting on the guidance coming out of the FDA, which will be I think this coming Friday is when they're planning on meeting. And so if they have, we'll follow what their guidance is, because what their guidance is translates to what the vaccines are authorized to be used for. And that is what we ultimately offer our public.
Okay, now, it seems like we cured the flu, thank God, because you don't really seem to see many people catching the flu or hearing about it.
We didn't last season, which was a wonderful thing.
Okay, great. So my point to you is I read that maybe we have to, like we've lived with the flu for however long we've identified the flu, we may have to start living with COVID, in which case it would be like the booster shot yearly, like we do with the flu.
Possibly.
So, so my question gets to be flu versus vaccine, flu versus vaccine. So if I've already had the vaccine, do I need to get the flu shot?
If you've already had the COVID vaccine?
Yes.
Okay. So we recommend, so there are two different viruses. So the COVID vaccine isn't going to protect you against the flu virus. They're very different viruses. The flu virus is formulated every year for what they think the types of flu strains will be that are circulating. So if you've had flu before, if you've had flu vaccines before, your body has some level of memory for flu virus, which is why over time in dealing with the flu, unless there's like some strange new strain of flu that we just, that's why we practice and we prepare for pandemic flu. But unless there's some strange new variant of the flu, our general population, because we've had flu for some time, because we've had flu vaccines for years now, we have some level of memory and immunity to some degree, or memory and ability to respond to flu virus, whatever strains are circulating that season. We haven't built that up yet for COVID, which is why we're trying to get to a level where we don't have this pandemic level of COVID, where, in which you see a lot of these mutations come out from the COVID virus. But the COVID vaccine is not intended to protect you against the flu vaccine.
My question gets to be,
the flu virus.
People who have gotten the flu vaccine every year should continue to get it, even if they've gotten...
Correct. Anybody who's 6 months and older, even if you haven't previously received the flu vaccine, unless it's some medical contraindication, your doctor tells you don't get the flu vaccine, we are really strongly encouraging them to get flu vaccinated by the end of October.
Okay, last question is about children in school. And you talked about a week of October 20th for children to get flu vaccines. Now, they can do it earlier, of course.
Sure. Thank you for raising that. A lot of doctors' offices carry flu vaccine. A lot of pharmacies carry flu vaccine and are already making flu vaccine available.
Okay.
So people can go to these settings to go get flu vaccine. They don't need to wait. If they have a child in elementary or middle school, they don't need to wait until October 20th. We've been doing this for years, the partnership with the school system, making flu vaccine clinics in the schools available during a particular week, because we know that increases the opportunities for parents to get their kid vaccinated, so they don't have to take time off of work and so forth and take them elsewhere.
No, well, that's good information, because, we've been waiting for the vaccine for the children, so hopefully they can get rid of the mask in the schools. But on the other hand, if they can get the flu shot, maybe that can help them get one step ahead of the process. So
For flu virus, correct.
No, I agree, but it's whatever keeps them from getting sick.
Yeah, exactly. And ultimately, that's the whole point, right, is we want to be able to maintain people in workplaces and people in schools. And so we've done that in the past with flu virus by doing flu vaccine campaigns and during flu season. And we're doing that now, of course, with COVID. With the COVID pandemic.
Well, thank you for answering all those questions. And again, I think you're doing a great job. I know I asked you a lot of questions.
That's okay. They're good ones.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, Commissioner. Thank you.
Very good. Commissioner Guy, I just want to give you a chance in case you had any questions.
For those who are wondering about if the immune system is compromised, they should call their doctor and have a conversation with them. My doctor advised me to get the booster. I'm going to get it as soon as I can.
Okay, great. Commissioner Guy, thank you for reminding. If anybody has a question, I think what he said was if anybody has a question on whether or not they are immune compromised and eligible for a booster dose, just go ahead and talk to your healthcare provider and get their advice.
Commissioner Morgan, you good?
I'm good. Thank you, Dr. Brewster.
Thank you.
Very good. I'll accept a motion to adjourn as Board of Health.
I move to adjourn as the St. Mary's County Board of Health and reconvene as the Commissioners of St. Mary's County.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We have consensus. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioners. Have a good day.
Very good. We will move right into Commissioner's time, and because he never gets to go first, I'm going to turn to Commissioner Guy, and you get to go first for Commissioner time.
Thank you, Commissioner Colvin. You've done a great job today. I appreciate it very much. Once again, I want to echo, so if we just finished with the Board of Health, get a vaccination. I think you'll be better off for all of us to go ahead and get it done. It's been approved, so go ahead and get it done. And as soon as I get back, I'll be getting my booster shot. I have no problem with that. My doctor has told me I should get it, so I'm going to get it. And as for those of us who've had some compromises in the past, with me, it's been mainly the cancer and other things, and so my doctor's approved, said go ahead and sign yourself up. So that's the main thing to do. Looking forward to things have opened up a little bit. We just had our crab festival a couple of weeks ago. Things went well. We're looking forward to the fair. We just had a briefing about the county fair. I missed it last year, and it ought to be a good turnout this year. And just follow some general practices. Mask if you don't feel comfortable. Try to keep some social distancing, and we'll all be okay. We need to get through this as quickly as possible. Thank you for everything today, and I'll see you next week.
Very good. Thank you, Commissioner Guy. Commissioner O'Connor.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you chairing the meeting since both Commissioner Guy and myself are on Zoom. I'd like to say thank you to everybody for coming out for the September 11th memorial service at the governmental center. It was definitely an amazing tribute. I'd like to also thank Foundation for Heroes for putting that together. Dr. J, awesome for what he does, and the spirit that he has behind it is tremendous. Clement's Cuties was packed. Significant amount of money raised for childhood cancer, and just tremendous on the efforts that everybody down there at Pryor does for them. I just wanted to recognize that. It was a busy weekend in the county, and I can tell you that I'm happy to see so many people out, so many people enjoying things, and exercising what it is that they feel is most best for themselves at this point, and just like we should be doing. So thank you, and if the booster shot comes up and I'm eligible, I probably will go get it myself as well. So thank you.
Very good. Thanks, Commissioner O'Connor. Commissioner Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. Colvin. Couple things. First of all, Ridge moved their carnival, I think as most of you know, from August to September. And I went down there last Friday night to work. And let me tell you, it's a lot different in September than it is in August. The temperature drops, the sun doesn't burn you up as much, and it was a great attendance. So I want to thank everybody down in Ridge for having me down, and the carnival, again, was a huge success. Blight. Blight is something, that I hear a lot about in Lexington Park, and it can be small blight and it can be a big blight. But if you're traveling around Lexington Park, I want to thank Mr. Weisskopf and Mr. Hunt for something we've been working on for probably well over 6 months. And that is something called the Patuxent Hotel, or to many of you have been around here for quite a while, it's called the Belvedere. And over the years, that place has been dilapidated pretty badly. But if you go down there now, thanks to a lot of work and a lot of communication, they'll be tearing down 3 of the 4 old buildings where the Belvedere used to be. So the main building in the front will probably remain intact, but all the buildings in the back will be going down. So if you remember the heyday of Lexington Park, and I can remember moving here in 1979 and living back in the efficiency apartments of the Belvedere, many a fun night at the Belvedere with a few individuals, but we're working on cleaning up Lexington Park. I want to thank the owners, but particularly Mr. Weisskopf and Mr. Hunt, for working through the process with me to be able to, begin to clean up one piece of Lexington Park, which has really gotten pretty bad reputation, and we're making progress. So with that, Commissioner Colvin, thank you.
Very good. Commissioner Hewitt.
Attended the 911 ceremony, very solemn, it's just we all remember where we were, we all remember what we were doing, and that day will, FDR phrase, will live in infamy. But thank you, Jay and his group, Foundation for Heroes, for putting that event on. It was very powerful, it was a very good event, and thank you very much for including me. Ridge Carnival. Missed you this past week, had a wedding up the road and couple other things going on, but I'll be there next week. And I do support the carnival. I know that you're one of your primary revenue generators for the auxiliary plus the carnival and the fire department itself, and Lord knows it's a great way to support these volunteer organizations that need all the help they can get. I also like to thank METCOM Director George Erickson for agreeing to meet with some residents from St. Clement Shores who were complaining per se, about the quality of the roads that are being impacted by the water lines that are being replaced out there. Those people have been dealing with low water pressure and failing lines for years. Interesting to know that existing water line that's being replaced is 80 years old. Lord knows it's lasts that long. It's pretty good shape. But good news is they're replacing 10,000 lineal feet of it. It's going to take 360 days, hopefully. Key gets to be is there's a light at the end of the tunnel. They will get it done. The county will follow up, pave the roads over, and hopefully within a year, the people in St. Clement Shores will have new water and new roads. Attended the Leadership Southern Maryland conference yesterday. It was over in Solomons, and it was Commissioner President Guy was supposed to go, but he's out of town, so he asked me to sit in his place, and I did. Very enjoyable with Commissioner Collins from Charles County and Commissioner Hance from Calvert County. They told me it was going to be a bunch of softball questions, but it ended up being some tough ones. But the key was, what I walked away from, is what we're doing in St. Mary's County is a lot better than what they're doing in other counties. We talked about the YMCA, and I was asked specifically, thoughts on St. Mary's County and YMCA. I'll tell you this, they asked the right guy. When we were done, Commissioner Collins said, I want to give you a call about that, and I want to maybe talk to you about how we can get YMCAs in Charles County. Commissioner Hance said, we already have 5 community centers in Calvert County. But both Commissioner Collins and I said, well, we don't have any. Congratulations on having 5 in Calvert County. It's just a real opportunity to see what other people have in the Southern Maryland area and where the disparities are. But it was a good exchange of ideas. There's probably about 40 people there. I want to wish them good luck, congratulate them. B.J. Hall, he was there. Mia Bowers was there from St. Mary's County. And those were the 2 that I knew, even though there was a lady from Leonardtown, and I'm sorry, I can't remember her name. But the point is, great event. They had a lot of good topics going around, a lot of good interaction. Tom Jarbo, former county commissioner, excuse me, founded that group, and it still goes strong to this day. And local Denise Foster, she was a knot back in the day, as we say. She was the director. It was very nice. All right, thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Commissioner Hewitt. So I just want to echo some of the comments that have been made about the Ridge Carnival. If you've been around in the county long enough to remember when there were more carnivals, you'll know that they all had their own different feel, their different little flavor to them. The Ridge Carnival is no different. If I was going to describe the Ridge Carnival, I would say community. It is a community event. And you should definitely go down this weekend. I was able to get there opening night. Get a crab cake while you're down there. Ridge makes some great crab cakes at their carnivals. It's wonderful.
They sell out fast.
They do. They do. Only Friday and Saturday nights this year at the carnival, too. So if you show up on a Thursday like I did, you won't get a crab cake. But the pizza was good. I was also able to attend the Foundation for Heroes 9/11 event and read a list of names. It's always a powerful, moving event. So thank you to all the organizers of that. There's a lot of work that goes into that, a lot of organization, and I really appreciate it. I was also able to attend a 9/11 service on Saturday morning out at St. Clements Island. It was organized by a youth group called Southern Maryland Roots, and it was intended to honor the first responders, and it was an incredible event. So they asked me to speak, so I was very happy to. Senator Bailey spoke, Emergency Services Director Steve Walker spoke, Maryland State Trooper Sergeant Casey Ruth, Captain Steve Hall from our Sheriff's Department, and Board of Education member Rita Weaver spoke. It was just a very moving event on an incredibly beautiful day, and the island looked incredible. It was just great all around, and so thank you to all the people who helped make that possible. It was really good. Today's a little different. Obviously, I'm sitting here, and I want to thank Commissioner Guy for letting me sit in his seat while he's out of town, but we also started later today than we normally do because this morning we had our CalVex drill. This happens every 2 years. It's a FEMA drill in order to just be prepared in case there's an accident at the nuclear power plant. So what's interesting about that is communities that have nuclear power plants like we do here, this was a cross-county drill going on. So Calvert County was involved, we were involved, Dorchester County was involved because they're in the zone that if something happened, they need to be involved and be ready. And the communities that have these events and these regular practices are better prepared for any kind of emergency that happens. And it's just fascinating for me to be able to sit there and see all of our great county employees, state employees, just people from every different department and branch that can be involved, working together to solve the problems, to solve the scenario that was thrown at them. It started off as a small little leak, and then in the scenario, this is just a drill, just a scenario, there was a plane crash and a sinkhole, and they adapted and they worked together, and it was incredible. Now, if you've ever been in our Emergency Operations Center, Mr. Gerald Gardner is our emergency manager who handles anytime there's an emergency in the county. He's the one in charge. Everyone answers to him. But today, I want to give a shout out to Amy Bledsoe because she led it today. She did a great job, so thank you, Amy. Thank you to everyone who was involved because it was really good. So with that, I will accept a motion to move into closed session.
I gotta find it. Give me a second.
It's pretty easy.
I move to enter into the closed session for discussion of personnel, please.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Thank you. We are adjourned. We're in the closed session.